Hello and welcome to Game Changer. I'm Maryam Zia. Tonight we will be talking about the political turmoil that India is going through today. When we look at the situation in India, Modi government is under intense pressure both at domestic level as well as diplomatically. And when we look at the domestic situation, of course, Rahul Gandhi, we know that has been detained during the protest against what the opposition calls the theft of 2024 elections of India. In Parliament, Gandhi accused the Prime Minister Modi of launching Operation Sindoor against Pakistan, only to improve his image and then surrendering within 30 minutes. And when we look at the global stage, Modi is facing intense pressure with the grappling with India grappling a steep dive in relations with US, and where US President Donald Trump has imposed and slapped over around 50% tariffs on Indian imports. In today's program, we will be talking about all these dimensions, and Modi's once unshakable brand is now under pressure, and how this shifting India-Pakistan equation is going to be impacting not only the political situation within India, but also how this is going to be shaping the regional security dynamics as well. To discuss this and more, we are joined in the studio by Dr. Salma Malik, who is expert in foreign affairs. Welcome to the program. We're also joined by Dr. Haque Shamsi, who is expert in international affairs. Welcome to the program. And we are also joined by foreign affairs expert Dr. Sundas Mustaqeem. Welcome to the program. Dr. Salma, let me start with you, of course, with the recent situation we'll be discussing. But when we look at the current situation and the political turmoil that we are witnessing in India, after 11 years of government, Prime Minister Modi is facing perhaps the toughest phase of his government, and from a contentious ceasefire with Pakistan now to the domestic front, the situation is unfolding, and the pressure is mounting on Modi government each day. How are you witnessing these turmoils, especially when we talk about Modi's leadership, where he was presenting himself as a strong macho man?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Maryam. I think this is a very, very important topic, and given the fact that for once it's very fascinating watching Indian domestic affairs unfold. Prime Minister Modi, whatever he had planned for his next tenure to come, along with the regional elections that are to take place, starting with Bihar and other constituencies, because one thing we need to keep in mind that India is virtually having elections throughout the year, and rather throughout the tenure of any government, given the way their legislatures are formed. So one bet, if we look at Pulwama 2019, he had stage managed it to win those elections. And Pahalgam was to look at the futuristic elections and build a momentum accordingly, and everything backfired. And now this particular incident that has unfolded in the last 12 hours, what we now see is that he has no stomach for any kind of opposition that will come his way, or any kind of dissenting note that comes his way, and people are now very openly challenging, questioning him for his decisions, for the fiasco that he has brought his entire country into, because we are very much aware that during the May 2025 war, there was a media blackout within India to keep the Indian audience very focused to the Goodi media that was coming across. And now that things are opening up, people are starting to ask questions. And with 15th August just 2 days away, Modi cannot afford any type of opposition or any voice coming his way, and hence this detention of, however limited the detention may be, he is calling so many of the Muslim voters that he had screened out as infiltrators, which shows how deep seated his hatred and kind of disdain towards minority people are, and mind it, Muslims are not a minority, but this is the way he has managed the election so far, and now everything is opening and unraveling for him, and it's I think one of the toughest moments for Modi to face and to go through.
Right, and we will be circling back to that very point, but Dr. Shamsi, I want your take on this recent situation that has unfolded with Rahul Gandhi and other MPs being arrested, and we have seen this unity in Indian opposition. Nearly 300 opposition MPs joined the protest against alleged electoral malpractice, something that is very rare in India and Indian political, rather recent political history. Does this mark, in your opinion, an emergence of a genuinely united opposition?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Maryam. Indian domestic politics has always been a kind of united fronts. They have been putting up their candidates against the popular governments even during the era of Congress. If you remember, Chandrasekhar was the Prime Minister one time, and many more from the south. So this is not something new. Rahul Gandhi has tried it to put up a show alongside United Front, United Opposition Front. Modi himself is leading a coalition government at this time. So this is not something new. What is new at this time is the toughness of Rahul Gandhi, that he is slowly and gradually maturing as a tough political opponent, which he was not. And that is why Modi was perhaps lucky over the last 3 terms that he did not actually have a proper opposition leader. Rahul was too young when Modi came in for the first time in power. And whatever India rising and shining was built by Manmohan Singh under in the 90s under Narasimha Rao, and in the 21st century all by himself alongside Sonia Gandhi, that has been totally neutralized by Modi's hardline Hindutva philosophy. Modi has turned world's largest secularistic democracy, that is India, into our largest Hindu state. This is the maximum damage a leader can do to its country, because India's identity was its secularization, which he has badly tarnished.
And he has, of course, targeted the very essence of Indian politics. And I'll be talking about the saffronization of India later in the program. But since you alluded to a very important point about how mature of a leader Rahul Gandhi has emerged as of now, and when we look at the recent statement of Rahul Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi's sharp attack on Modi's handling of Operation Sindoor and calling it as an immediate surrender in 30 minutes. Do you think this is unusually direct, and how do you think this is going to be resonating with military as well as the population of India, the common citizens of India?
Yeah, that's what I'm said. Ke Rahul is now emerging as a leader. He was a kid, he was a Gandhi kid, so he took time. And within the Gandhi family, many a times they debated whether we should put up Priyanka or not.
Yes.
But then it was decided, no, let Rahul take time. And Rahul unfortunately did not have a very good support from tier 2 Congress leaders, which at one time Sonia Gandhi had, like Narasimha Rao Sahab and Manmohan Singh.
It took them a lot of time to accept him as a leader.
Absolutely. And then, but now, this is his 3rd time against Modi, that he is now maturing and blossoming. And look at his parliamentary speeches. I think they are very interesting, they are very powerful. He not only attacks the Operation Sindoor, but he also regularly attacks on the corruption scandals of Modi that Modi undertakes with the help of Ambanis and Tatas and all those. So, I see him as an alternate to Modi and not to in too distant future. I am seeing him, I think, getting into the seat within maybe 2 to 3 years.
Right, right. I'll be coming back to that point, but let me include Dr. Sundas into the discussion. Dr. Sundas, when we look at the domestic situation, and Rahul Gandhi called this fight not political but to save the constitution and to protect one person, one vote. In your view, how effective is this framing in railing the public opinion against Modi's government?
It was not just the framing that he framed, actually, it was a bitter reality, today's real face of India. And we were expecting this Rahul's detention sooner or later. We were expecting that he will be behind the bars. Why? Because he has been so vocal against BJP's government and BJP's real face. So he, Sir has told very rightly that he not only highlighted the corruption scandals, but he also highlighted this election manipulation in 2 states of India, the minority rights, the women rights, and this election manipulation. So Rahul was very right to predict that where India is heading towards, and I also second this thought that Manmohan Singh is the right person who actually provided India this economic base. Actually, he was the person who was very right. He was a true leader who wanted to see India as a rising India. But what Modi did, Modi ruined everything. Not only because of his solid, rigid Hindutva policies, but because of this, I would say, blind, as he was blindly heading towards securing the 3rd election tenure. But unfortunately, he cannot able to secure this election for the 3rd time because of his own policies. A day after another, India is losing its strategic dominance in the region, and Pakistan on the flip side is successfully securing this conventional deterrence in the region. So finally and luckily, because of this Operation Sindoor, we have been lucky enough to tell the world that Pakistan is capable enough in any way, not only strategically, domestically and on diplomatic grounds in particular, that we have enhanced or successfully secured this conventional deterrence, and India is losing its strategic position in the region.
Right, and this poses a serious threat to India as far as a diplomatic front is concerned. But at the same time, I want to take on, since we're discussing the domestic challenges that the Modi government is facing at this point in time, and like Dr. Salma earlier alluded to, that 15th August is also around the corner, and with these detentions of major opposition leaders, how do you see this is reflecting the shrinking space for freedom of speech within India, and how does this reflect Modi's global image?
See, this is the so-called democratic India, that even the opposition leader is not even allowed to speak for their own people. That what Rahul Gandhi is actually trying to tell the people that he has been manipulating by this Hindutva mindset and by the Modi's government. So this is the real face of so-called democratic India, that even the opposition leader is not even allowed to speak up, to raise voice. So what about the common people? What about the journalists? And this Rahul's detention provided us the opportunity to tell the world, because we have seen that Indian media has been so falsely vocal against the Pakistan and Pakistani armed forces and all that stuff. So we have got the chance to speak up this time. It's our time to tell the world from our side and from our media's perspective that, see, this is the so-called democratic and so-called secular India, that even the opposition leader, the rampant, the people sitting in the government are not even allowed. The media is so blind and so rigid, and I would say the freedom of expression is cipher over there. There is no freedom of expression type of thing in Indian media. So they have been making fun of them since the Operation Sindoor. So their media, the government, their rigid Hindutva mindset, their opposition, everyone in their own capacity is just making fun of them.
Right, right. And Dr. Salma, I want to take on this political branding and once untouchable brand of Prime Minister Modi. And now when we look at different pressures mounting on Modi, one of the pressures is age factor as well, as he has turned and is going to be turning 75 next month. This is also becoming a political talking point, because we have witnessed in the past that other BJP leaders were sidelined in the past at this age. Could this age factor add to other uncertainty within his own party ranks? And also like Dr. Shamsi alluded to an important point, that he foresee Rahul Gandhi taking place of Prime Minister within next 3-4 years. What's your take on that?
Thank you, Maryam. Few things. This is a moment of make and break for Rahul. I totally agree with Dr. Shamsi when he says that for a very long time he was under the shadow of Priyanka being virtually a copy of her grandmother, and a lot of people thought that she's the next Indira Gandhi in making. She's tall, she carried herself the way her grandmother did, and Rahul was always in the shadows, and now he is emerging as a frontline leader. We have also talked about this notion several times in your TV programs and others, that so long, it's been a very long time that the Congress could not come up with a very strong leadership. Manmohan Singh being the last one, who was a very strong personality in himself, but he was a very gentle soul, and he would take dictates from Sonia, because Sonia, as an Italian-born Italian woman, was not acceptable in the seat of the Prime Minister or leading from the front. So that left the two Gandhi kids. They carried the brand, but there was a few things which did not really go in their favor. Priyanka's husband was someone people did not agree with. Rahul was a person who could not really come up with a very solid image for himself, and a lot of his political statements would be in the grays, to say the best. And now he is coming up, and this is a point which he can absolutely capitalize and make the most of it, and this is where he should really put his trust, and the entire party should support them. Now this is a young leader, vibrant, carries a brand name. He is also a person who is very aptly capitalizing on this particular moment in comparison to Modi, who is getting older, but he is still very strong. I mean, there are no stated health issues that Modi has. If we compare him with Vajpayee Sahab, so Vajpayee at one particular time needed to be assisted from a seat and sitting down.
So you think that age is not going to be a factor?
No, but this is a very important point. Realizing that there is a much more vigorous, vibrant and a hardliner lineup of leaders within the BJP. We find Modi actually competing not so much with Rahul Gandhi, but with his own people. And he really wants to show that 56-inch chest and the chest thumping that goes with all that he has done. And now he's making one cardinal mistake after another. And this recent statement for which he has used the Indian Air Chief is so nonsensical. And the run-up of the programs that we are seeing for the 15th August have all these, that Qureshi lady who was the spokesperson and various other ladies who are part of this thing, who are coming and saying very funny stuff. And Dr. Saab, who has been part of the military as well, can for once vouch that the air chiefs usually don't become so politicized, and they don't make a joke or ridicule their institution. And here you have Modi using everyone in his political gimmicking to make the mark and to show that he is still very strong. And that actually shows precisely the point that you have raised, that internally he is facing a lot of dissent, he is facing a lot of tough moments, not so much from the opposition, but from within within the House.
Right, right. And to talk more about this, now we are joined online by Dr. Shazia Anwer Cheema, who is Foreign Affairs expert. Welcome to the program, Dr. Shazia. Since we are talking about the challenges that Modi and Modi's government is facing, not only domestically but at global stage as well, I want to take on that when we look at the ratings, and one of the recent ratings reports 75% approval ratings for Modi's leadership and his government. But at the same time, when we look at the recent ceasefire with Pakistan, there was a lot of unease even amongst the Hindu extreme nationalists and his voter base as well. So do you think this is indicating kind of some cracks within his loyal Hindu nationalist base as well?
You know, like in totality, the answer for your question is that what happened to Modi and his regime is that a war happened, and which has changed everything, and which has changed a state and its narrative, which is primarily standing up on a narrative, on the pillars of rhetorics, and the narrative which has no link, which has no inclination toward truth. So a nation which has been fed narratives for the past 11 years that you are the biggest democracy of the world, you are the fourth world largest economy, you have been hyphenated with China, and you are partner with the Russia, and you are navigating in between global south and global north, and just one war, and that war it's like 1 or 2 days and couple of hours. If we count the actual war, it has changed everything. It has changed the perception of the people, Indian people, that they have been fed with lies. It has changed the perception of Modi himself, as our colleague was rightly saying, a chest-thumping macho man, which is the net security provider of the region. So that's what has happened, and that is the gap, that is the vacuum, which is being filled by the Rahul Gandhi, and he's doing it rightly. He is using all the points, all the right talking points, which can be commodified in his situation, and that's what he is doing. And so like your question about like why the Hindutva base and RSS is having some sort of crevices and some sort of fault lines in between, they already exist. But they have been maximized because of this hyper-masculine behavior of Modi and the Jaishankar. And that has not been translated, because that was the one incident which this could have been manifested in front of the entire world, that how strong and how powerful India is. But it has, India has come out as politically ill-willed, tactically ill-prepared, and when it comes to the maneuverability, it just realized that he has no leverage in the maneuverability in front of Pakistan. So that was a shock. That is also a shock for his political base and for the world as well. So that's what we are, which is unfolding right in front of us. Right. And that's how, if Modi has to go, this will be only just because of that war, which he himself instigated and thought like,
and it backfired badly for Modi and Modi's government. Let me take this same point to Dr. Shamsi. Dr. Shamsi, I want to go on, of course, the recent India-Pakistan conflict and the fallout. Since we know that Mr. Trump claimed, and US, of course, mediated the ceasefire, and Pakistan publicly thanked US and President Trump for the ceasefire. But on the other hand, when we look at India's narrative, do you think this undercuts India's narrative of self-reliance in terms of security matters, and also how damaging is it for Modi's foreign policy and his foreign policy credibility?
Maryam, basically international affairs or international relations are very unforgiving one mistake and you are done. That is happening with Mr. Modi at this time. He got a rising and shining India, which was very strong because of various reasons. We made a mistake in Kargil, and India went into the lap of the United States. The Bill Clinton visited and actually adopted India from that time onward. Unfortunate incidents of 9/11, and then India stage managed 26/11, and everything turned. India came on the borders, stayed there for 1 year, and the Bill Clinton factor, who initiated the foundational agreements followed by Mr. Bush, continued for 18 years, and the BECA was signed in 2019. This is how India went into. So Modi got an India which was really shining and very well supported by their NRIs, that is non-resident Indians, Indian diaspora, very active. Indian diaspora, through the help of their IT industry and Bollywood, really made India very famous all over the world. And India became a darling of the West, whereas Pakistan became the bad boy because of those blames on terrorism, etc., and all that, Taliban support and all. So I'll not go into that. However, now why is India falling apart? I've only written just a week back, is India falling or flying? That was the title of my article. And it was basically after the Operation Sindoor. At that time, the Indian Air Force Chief had not staked the claim. So I had written it before that. Why? Because if you, this is my personal opinion, I may be wrong, Dr. Sahiba and Dr. Sahiba can correct me. I do not trust that Modi has the capacity and capability of handling such a big state. This is my opinion. He sailed through because he got
for 11 years.
No, because he got a very good India.
Yeah.
So he sailed through. Congress, if you go back to Gandhi family, Indira Gandhi was preparing not Rajiv Gandhi but Sanjay Gandhi. Yes. He crashed. Rajiv was killed. One mistake, each by mother and son, done. The children were very small at that time, very young. Rahul, Priyanka, obviously they could not have taken. So the bridge, the gap was bridged by Manmohan Singh ji. But obviously Rahul had to take some time. Coming back to Modi, you got a very good India, very shining India, very popular India. I mean, at this time also, it remains the darling of the West. Just look at the tourism India attracts from the Westerners. But what he is doing now is just to stay in power. He is seeing that Gandhis are rising again, and he wants to crush him, and that is what the mistake he is making. He tried to bulldoze Pakistan in 2019 because he is insisting that there is a space for war under the nuclear threshold. Dr. Sahiba is teaching nuclear deterrence for the last 25 years. Ask her please this question. How come there is a space for war between two nuclear weapon states?
Of course.
Either we were told wrong by the experience of the Cold War that the nuclear states will not fight together, and why is Modi trying to make it wrong? Isn't it? He tried in 2019, all right, he got the lesson. But he doesn't believe that he cannot tame Pakistan. So he tried in 25. What I personally think is, the Indian military is not truthful to Modi. They cannot go and tell him, because he is a macho man, they cannot, the army chief, air force chief, they cannot go and tell him that, sir, we cannot handle Pakistan armed forces.
Right.
They are not telling, isn't it? And that is why after every 4 or 5 years he keeps on trying. This is where
it keeps on backfiring for India.
This is where I would praise Pakistan armed forces. That the chiefs have the guts and the truthfulness and the loyalty to the civilian government. They go and tell them that, sir, A is possible, B is not possible, C is possible, D is not possible. That is not happening in India. And that is why a person of the stature of an Indian Air Force chief, the fourth or third largest Air Force chief, comes on the screen, his body language is not supporting his words, and he had to say 3 times that we had full option and permission from the civilian government. Why did you have to tell 3 times? Isn't it? Only because he has been
And
pressed.
then he had to face humiliation from within his own ranks,
Obviously,
Yeah.
obviously. I mean,
which
first,
is unprecedented.
no. First, they were targeted that how come you lost so many aircraft in 58 minutes, isn't it? And hats off to Pakistan Armed Forces
course.
and Pakistan Air Force, and hats off to the Chief of the Air Force, Air Chief Marshal Zahir Ahmed Babar Sidhu, that his handling of his own strategy, because he was the
Right.
strategist and he was the executioner himself. Within 58 minutes, he outmaneuvered, outsmarted, and outshot from the sky 6 aeroplanes, out of which 4 were 4.5 generation Rafale aircraft.
Right.
I mean, this is no mean joke. Why? Because air strategies are not formulated in one day. India was formulating its strategy since 2019. You must remember, Modi had said in his election campaign that if Rafale were there, we would not have suffered the humiliation, isn't it?
Yes.
Once he got Rafale, he got S-400, he got the Israeli drones and UAVs, they prepared a strategy, and Indian Prime Minister thought that now we are good enough to tame Pakistan, and he again tasked Indian Air Force to go ahead and do it 6th May after Pahalgam,
Right.
isn't it? On the other hand, I think Pakistan Air Force was waiting since Pahalgam, and they gave him 12 days. Modi gave 12 days to Indian Air Force, and Pakistan Air Force got 12 days all by itself, and it's a legacy of Pakistan Air Force leadership that they prepare themselves. Recall from the history, Noor Khan Sahab himself went to the army chief after 465 war. He says that I think war is coming, let's prepare. This is what Zahir Baba did.
We were prepared
Prepare
indeed.
himself.
Of course, we were prepared indeed for what was
Yes.
coming, and gave a befitting response to India that not only shocked India but the world as well. Of course, talking on to the point of diplomatic and failure of India. When we look at the statement of Rahul Gandhi, he said that no country condemned Pakistan after Pahalgam despite global terrorism condemnation as far as Pakistan is concerned. Do you think this reflects a failure in Modi's international diplomacy?
Certainly yes, because India is no more the darling, but the Pakistan is the new darling of the West. Pakistan has always been secured the same position, but it's just a decade before Pakistan has unfortunately lost the same position. But alhamdulillah, luckily, because of this Operation Banyani and Marsus, we have regained our lost position, because we have seen like not only the Field Marshal Asim Munir has been visiting, Ishaq Dar has been visiting our foreign minister. So this is the strong foreign policy of Pakistan. You know, and the failed foreign policy of S.J. Shankar is on the other side. Like we have seen that the pictures speak louder than words, and even. So S.J. Shankar is losing the position, and Ishaq Dar is securing the same position in the pictures and in different international forums. And this is the same India who has been weaponizing water, and this is the same India who has been weaponizing and politicizing their own, as ma'am very rightly gave the example of Ms. Sofia Qureshi, that the shaking body language of their own army people, and she set the example that if you are a woman and if you are serving in Indian Armed Force, you are not secure enough. Even their Hindu widows are not secure enough. And one of the widows, she gave she said that I just want justice and I had nothing to do with the culture and religion and terrorists. And she gave very factual statement that terrorist has no religion and we have nothing to do with Muslims or Pakistan. And I just want justice of my husband. And how India has been treated that lady. I mean, this is so unfortunate. She was the Hindu lady. So when it comes to going against Pakistan and playing on Muslim card, playing on Pakistan card, India and Hindutva rigid mindset of Modi government has been so blind actually. So Modi cannot cannot afford to play in the third tenure on Pakistan card and on Muslim card, because even their own people they are not blind anymore, and they have seen witnessing the real face of the Modi and their own government, and internationally speaking, during the Iran-Israel conflict, internationally speaking, during this Pak-India conflict, Pakistan has actually, as I said earlier, secured their strategic strong position, and Pakistan has been the strongest, one of the strongest US ally, not only because it's Trump favorite now, because we have seen this in Musharraf era, that Pakistani Air Force and cream leadership used to visit US like anything, and that was the concern of the India, that how Pakistan successfully secured position, strong friendship and position with China, at the same time with US as well.
Right.
You know, and Iran at the same time equally learned his own lesson, because Iran was behind the doors, was supporting India, and they were like having this close ties with India. But now after this Iran-Pakistan conflict, Pakistan has been so vocal in favor of Iran.
Iran-Israel conflict, right?
Yeah, Iran-Israel conflict. So India and is the isolated in this whole region, and in this Palestine-Gaza conflict, as like in international era, we have seen that Iran, Israel and US has now been isolated. All the European countries, Western countries are now supporting Palestine. So during the Pak-India conflict, all supported Pakistan. Why? Nobody's even spoken in favor of India.
Because they are so used to false flag operations of India
Not only
now.
false flag operations, because of their target killings as well.
Of course, that nobody took India's perspective and narrative seriously this time. Dr. Shazia, I want to take on, of course, when we talk about this mounting pressure on Modi, from Pakistan's perspective, how does this internal political turmoil, as well as the diplomatic challenges that India is facing as far as its ties with, rather strained ties with US are concerned, how does this create opportunities for Pakistan to strengthen its diplomatic posturing?
See, what India is facing today is the organic outcome of the ethno-religious, hyper-national ideology. So this is a very lethal combination, especially for India, which has like multiple ethnicities, multiple languages, multiple religions, and they don't claim that they are a national state even. So this is the fallout of this hyper-national, hyper-ethno-religious narrative, and this has created a huge crevice between West and the India, because Western relation is always, we have to keep this in mind, that with the West, our relations are always transactional. It's always something about, give and take, and it's always based on the basis of tenure. For how many years a premier is in the office, and what next premier will be bringing in the office with the new policy. So what India is facing right now is that India was supposed to be the net security provider of the region, but with the backing of the West. And India has the duty to contain China, but instead India decided to give a posture, like a posturing, diplomatic posturing of being in the global south and being in the global north at the same time, being the member of the Quad and being the member of the SCO and the BRICS, and not doing anything earnestly between both. I was listening to a senior diplomat, Indian diplomat's interview the day before yesterday, M.K. Badar Kumar. He was giving an interview to a professor, a Norwegian professor, and he was saying, which I was writing like for years, like more than 5 years, that India is in the BRICS just out of courtesy. And the Western world should be thankful to India for not having the swift de-dollarization and for not having a BRICS currency, because India is practically blockading this idea. So that's what the people in Global South, they think. That's what these organizations and these alliances are now thinking about, that India either could be in the Quad to contain China, or it could be in the BRICS to have the de-dollarization. Having said that, Pakistan, on the other hand, have not postured itself as Jaishankar did past 11 years, that we are the world leaders and we can navigate between both the poles. Pakistan has a very realistic approach. Pakistan has told the world that we have a strategic partnership with China and we want to keep it. And we have no problem with a transactional partnership with any other party in the world. So we are ready for that. And we have our own problems. And we want these problems to be addressed, such as terrorism, such as Kashmir issue. So this is the leverage what Pakistan can right now take, and what Pakistan can reiterate and articulate on different platforms, especially for the Kashmir issue and for the terrorism.
Of course.
This is the right time. People are listening us, and we should not miss
yeah,
this
the world
chance.
is listening now, and this is the high time that we use this space diplomatically. Thank you very much, Dr. Shazia Anwer Cheema, for joining today's program and for your valuable input. Dr. Salma, since we are concluding the program, I want your brief take on the ties between US and India, with warm relations between Modi and Trump, and with their personalities kind of matching. How do you see that this relation between US and India collapsed so quickly?
Maryam, few things. When you look at any of these international relations or person-based relations, they are purely transactional. And especially with Modi and Trump, both being economic guys or finance-related guys, it was purely transactional. All the song and dance that we have seen is very, very Bollywood type, where this hype was created. President Trump likes such things. Modi capitalized on that. He also had all these funny gadgetries attached to that. However, at the end of the day, when it came to the moment of testing the grit of the relationship or how strong the relationship was, despite being a strategic partner and being part of the Quad and everything, the only moment of reckoning was when India appealed to US for a ceasefire, and US managed to broker the ceasefire by keeping India's situation very well hidden, that we are brokering ceasefire between the two. And if you recall, when the ceasefire was brokered, it was the Indian external affairs person who actually said, we asked the US for this thing.
Yes.
But having said that, all this happened and India could not live up to this particular situation where it was facing a nose blow, right? So that kind of became a moment of make and break between them. And then the 25% tariff, which has now been raised to the 50% thing, this was something in the making. They had been negotiating that, and it hasn't worked. The third factor about the military relations between the two countries, where India is saying that we are not going to purchase things from them, they were never going to purchase expensive machinery from the US. It's very typical and symptomatic of how the Indians behave. They commit to things, then they backtrack, then they try to put the blame on the others, but they were not supposed to do that. So this is how it has been.
Of course. Thank you very much, Dr. Salma Malik, for joining us in today's program and for your valuable input. Thank you very much, Dr. Shamsi, for joining us in today's program and for your valuable input. Thank you very much, Dr. Sundas Mustaqeem, for joining us in today's program and for your valuable input. That's all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Allah Hafiz.